This is a Czech blog. I'm James Stopes, and I'm here with our old friend Jator Pierre, Czech faculty member and founder of We HLC. How are you, Jator?
In this moment, I think I'm all right. My
Well,
my new answer is delusional at best.
we'll see if we can get you to a place where you're better than you think you're okay.
Maybe.
All right. Well, today we're going to talk about something really interesting, something that we kind of touched on briefly in our last interview, and that's building a habit of self-awareness. And I think this is really important. At the Czech Institute, we say that being healthy, being truly healthy, is taking responsibility for yourself, and building that habit of self-awareness is part of that way, part of the key tools to having that kind of responsibility and being empowered to take responsibility. So today, we're lucky to have Jator with us because he's going to talk about some ways you can build a habit of self-awareness. What is a habit of self-awareness? And maybe finish with a way that you can start today by building that habit yourself. So I'm really excited. So tell us about building a habit of self-awareness, Jator.
Yeah, I'll tell you about it. I'll share about it.
Okay, share it.
My experience of it, at least. Building self-awareness for me is kind of goes in conjunction and or is a offshoot of curiosity. So for one to build self-awareness, in my experience, that must be a objective goal that one has out of the platform of curiosity. So to be very curious about yourself, be very curious about, the words that you choose. Be very curious about how you move. Be very curious about your relationships, your food choices, the people that you surround yourself with. To build a habit of curiosity feeds, for me, the building of awareness of self. And in my experience, one of the easiest ways to start building a practice of awareness is to start paying very, very close attention to your physical sensations. And where I actually learned that was doing a Vipassana meditation. And in Vipassana meditation, there's sits that you do that are called sits of determination. And what that essentially means is that you go into a meditative state and you're determined not to move from the position that you start the meditation in. Inevitably, in about 5 to 10 minutes, you start to get body pains and body sensations. And the point of that is to go to the sensation, go to the pain, go to the tension, go to where you feel uncomfortable and observe it rather than shift and move out of it. So that really started to build my self-awareness of my body in conjunction with all of the Czech work that I've done. And it also started to grow my awareness of self in other situations. So going from the physical and paying attention to the physical grew my awareness of self so that I could be more aware in different situations with people, places, things, ideas, stuff that passes through my consciousness, and get really curious as to what's beneath that and what is being shared with me. So from a physical standpoint, you can pay close attention to, wow, I really have a lot of shoulder tension in my stretching program, in my corrective exercise program. I always have to stretch the same muscles. Now, we can make a very easy story about why that's coming strictly from a physical standpoint. We can make a story about why that's coming from an organ and glandular standpoint. We can also make a story that's coming from a mental and emotional standpoint. So the physical can really grow your awareness of your mental and emotional and spiritual states. And they kind of can work, in my experience, both ways. So you can go from the spiritual down or from the physical up. But the physical is a very easy way to start becoming more self-aware. As an example, one thing I've noticed when I go pee is that my left leg turns to the left more than my right. So in those moments, when I'm setting up, I turn my left leg in and align myself, and that starts to build awareness. When I'm washing my hands, I pay very close attention to the water running over my hands or the feeling of the soap in between my hands. Another example is how many of us have taken a shower, we get out of the shower and we get out and we go, wait a second, did I shampoo my hair or did I soap up my body? I don't remember. For me, that's a sign that you were in the shower future tripping, so you were somewhere in the future thinking about something that's going on in the future, or you were in the past thinking about a past experience that you had. Where you were not, at least from a conscious standpoint, was present with what you were doing. You weren't aware that I'm washing my body, I'm brushing my teeth, I'm washing my hair, and feeling all of the sensations that come along with that. So in my experience, paying attention to all of these kind of mundane physical things that we do create a very strong habitual pattern of staying and paying attention to self.
And you're not even really asking the why or anything like that. It's just sheer awareness, right?
Sheer awareness. I think in my experience, the why and the curiosity to what's beneath that grows after. Because initially, in my experience, it could take quite a bit of energy to really just pay attention. Pay attention to, why did I just do that? What are these habitual patterns that I do? And as I grow that awareness of self, and that becomes habitual, then I don't need to spend as much energy paying attention to self. Then I can start asking the questions of, well, what's behind that? Where is that coming from? And grow the curiosity aspect of awareness.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's great. So do you have a suggestion for our viewers about one particular aspect of their physicality that might be good for them to pay attention to start with?
Yeah, one of the best ones I found personally is to turn the mundane into spiritual practice, into awareness practice. So choose something. When I do the dishes, I'm going to make that into an awareness practice. I'm going to feel the water on my hands. I'm going to feel the scrub brush in my hand. I'm going to feel what it feels like to clean that plate. I'm going to pay attention to myself as I put those dishes away. I'm going to be aware of my movements. It could be doing the dishes, brushing your teeth, taking a shower, combing your hair, anything that's kind of falls into the mundane, habitual things that most of us do every day. I've invited myself to make that into my meditative practice. So on some days when I don't have, or I don't want to say I don't have time, when I don't make time to do a meditative specific practice, I'll move it into the mundane things, whether that's, again, doing the dishes or even my stretching program. I can make that into an awareness practice. What am I stretching? How does that feel? What are the sensations there? What imagery comes up as I'm stretching? What thoughts come up as I'm stretching? And that's been one of the roots of growing my awareness practice into the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual realms.
And we were talking offline before we started this interview about eating, right? And that struck me as a really great place to start too, right? Because there's something also really valuable about slowing down, right? And taking your time to chew, and purely from a digestive point of view, right? And so turning this into, as you said, like a meditative practice also makes it a great way to start this as we're talking about a habit of self-awareness.
I'd completely agree. Thanks for the reminder on that. While I was at Vipassana, you're meditating for 10 days straight. There's no body language exchange. There's no eye contact. There's no reading, no writing, no speaking. So when you go in to go eat at these retreats, you essentially have to walk with your eyes down and you get your food. And once you sit down, what I started to do was I'd take a bite of food and I'd close my eyes and really feel myself breaking the food down and feel my saliva moving around and you know, incorporating with the food and the amylase starting to break down the carbohydrate and all that, you know, physical stuff. But from an awareness point of view, it's such an interesting, powerful experience to really take a moment and be with your food and feel your food moving around, feel yourself swallow. For me, it became a sacred practice. My eating time became a sacred practice to build not only awareness of self, not only curiosity of self, but also respect for what I'm eating and what that is giving me and giving my body and the opportunities that it provides me to move through the world, do things like this, and share what I've learned over the years. So eating is an amazing practice that we all do. Well, most of us do, unless you're a breatharian, you know, 3 to 7 times a day. So if you do that three times a day, you could have 3 meditative practices, 3 awareness practices, 3 curiosity practices every single day, which will start to really till that soil of awareness and curiosity in all other aspects of your life.
And do you ever record in any way, whether it's, you know, through visual art or, you know, by writing or journaling or whatever? Do you ever record some of these sensations, or is it just enough to be in the moment?
You know, that's a great question. I think in the beginning, it's really important to write this stuff down. So in the moment, if you can, write what comes up for you, write what your sensations are. A very curious practice I do is write how old I feel when those things come up. Not from a logical, well, I'm 38 years old. From an internal perspective, how old do I feel right now? What's coming up for me? And I would write that stuff down, and then I would correlate that stuff to the different chakras. So I'd put that in the root or the second or the third, and I'd write that down and I'd, you know, color code it. And that also really helped to grow not only my awareness in the moment, but also gave me some kind of self-home play to explore what was underneath what was coming up. So I think Bruce Lee said this, and I highly agree, at least in this moment, which is we need structure to become structureless.
And then and play, right? That was the other thing. You mentioned something offline before that I thought was really great. It would be easy to get, especially if you're a type A person, right, to get really wrapped up in making this almost like a work process, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it doesn't need to be work, right? I mean, this is, as you said, a play.
Yeah, I play a lot with words, and so when I use the word work, this came through paying attention to my physical sensations. When I use the word work, I feel tension in my body. When I exchange the word work with play, I feel a looseness and a childlike curiosity. So I've exchanged the word play in place of work to invite myself to be more childlike, curious, open, imaginative, and fun with this, because in my experience, not so much with myself, but what I've heard from clients and others is that awareness practice, spirituality practice, mental and emotional practice, oh God, it's so much, and I find such heavy, scary things, and that may be true, and I would invite us all to look at it as a playful experience. Wow, I'm learning about myself. Wow, where did that come from? Where in my childhood did I have that experience, and it's showing up in this current moment? And I love something that you just said. And I'm going to rephrase it. A client said this to me, and he said, I'm really trying to be mindful of not being too yang about my yin. And what that meant for me is part of our work together was finding Dr. Quiet, more quiet time for him. But he was pushing the hell out of himself to find quiet time, which is the exact opposite polarity of what you would be trying to cultivate. So allowing himself to play into yin rather than work and push into yin. Allow that to happen in your life, and allow the allowing rather than forcing the allowing is a interesting concept.
Allow the allowings.
Yes.
I like that. That's a great pithy little saying to end our interview. So that was fantastic, Jator. And I like this idea of starting our to build our habits in kind of the mundane physical things that we do every day to every day. That's a really that's a great place to start. So thank you.
Thank you, and you're welcome. And I hope everybody noticed that I put posters behind me so I can look really smart and knowledgeable.
They're all props, right? They're coming down as soon
totally
as we're done.
Props, man. I just put them up so I look like because I got no books, so I got to put something up.
All right, well, don't take them down because I think let's come back. Let's do another interview because I know you got a bunch of other tips about building this habit of self-awareness.
Yeah, I look forward to sharing and learning from my own sharing.
Great. Well, thanks, Jator. We'll talk again soon.
All right, brother.
Take care.